A few years ago, back when I was still living with my parents, we moved into a new house during my final couple of years at home before college. They had bought a place much farther out, away from the city and even beyond most of the suburbs. It was tucked deep in the woods and felt really secluded. To me, it almost looked like a mansion. Even though it was just the three of us, we often had family visiting and staying over. I guess that gave my parents a reason to justify buying a house bigger than we really needed. Anyway, this particular week was one of the rare times they were the ones flying out to visit family. They did invite me to join them, but I didn't want to miss a full week of school and deal with all the makeup work. So, I decided to stay home and look after the house while they were away. One thing I found out very quickly at this new house was that I didn't like being alone in it. The place was just so large. There were so many long hallways with empty spare rooms that it felt uncomfortable. Not to mention the place was built over a century ago, which was kind of creepy on its own. I was old enough to kind of ignore that uneasiness, but it still never went away. The first 2 days that my parents were gone, everything was fine. I went to school, hung out with some friends, and just chilled at home. On the third day, I did the usual, going to school, and then getting food with my buddies afterward, not getting back to the house until 6 or 7 that night. It was already pretty dark out, and I was kind of exhausted, wanting to just lay in bed for the rest of the night. I headed inside and dropped my school stuff by the door, then walked up to the second floor. Pretty much right when I looked down the long main upstairs hallway, I noticed something off. One of the spare bedroom doors was open. I didn't immediately think there was actually something wrong, but it just brought that uneasiness back that I always felt. I walked down and looked into the spare room. It just had a bed and a couple of random pieces of furniture, but aside from that, there was nothing there. I closed the door, but still felt off about it. The thing is, my room was at the end of this hallway, so I walked past all these doors multiple times a day, and I can't see how I wouldn't have noticed this door being open until just now. I always hated when the doors were left open in this massive house because it just felt weird to walk past so many open rooms. Before chilling, I did a short walkthrough of the house, not looking into every room, but just looking for any signs that something was off. Seeing nothing else, I figured I just never noticed the open door and tried to not let it creep me out too much. Maybe it could have even opened up on its own while I was out of the house, like if it wasn't fully closed already. I went to my room and turned on the TV, trying to ease my mind. Unfortunately, it didn't help much. I kept thinking about the fact that I was alone in a huge mansion with no way to know what was going on in any of the other rooms. Not that something was going on, but it was the unknown that was creepy about it. 45 minutes to an hour went by before I was getting hungry for dinner. I left my room and headed down the hallway into the first floor. Another kind of strange thing about living in a house like this was that almost never were all the lights on. So constantly, I was walking past dark rooms in shadows. While I was in the kitchen, I kept thinking I was seeing something in the far living room. Every time I'd look up, the room was dark and nothing was there. I thought I was going crazy. Everything was just getting to my head, and I really didn't want to give in to what I thought was unwarranted, anxious feelings I was having. I told myself I was creeped out over nothing and just ignored it. I made dinner, then walked back up to my room. But when I got up to that hallway, I instantly felt a chill run through me. That door was open again. I froze up and just stared down the dark hallway for maybe an entire minute. I couldn't think of how this was happening. In the moment, I was genuinely considering whether this place was haunted. I never believed in that stuff, but that was before living in a creepy-ass 100-year-old mansion in the middle of the woods. I quietly walked back up to the spare room, pushing the door more open and looking in. It looked exactly the same as it did before. I walked in and looked for any subtle signs, like a dirty shoe print or something that had been moved, but I found nothing at all. Only getting more uneasy, I left and went to my room, closing and locking the door. I sent a text to my parents, not trying to sound too alarmed. But first, did you know that 98% of people who watch my videos aren't subscribed? That means you. And yes, I am speaking specifically to you. Probably aren't. So, now would be a great time to leave a like on the video and subscribe. Anyhow, but just asking if they noticed the spare room door opening, or if there was a problem with it or something. They responded quickly, saying they hadn't noticed anything and wasn't really sure what I was talking about. I said to not worry about it, and it was probably nothing. But honestly, I was getting more unsettled by the minute. It was like my gut knew something wasn't right. I think I was in my room, sitting on the bed with the TV on and eating for 10-ish minutes, when I heard what sounded exactly like footsteps in the hallway. I quickly reached for the remote and paused the TV just quick enough to hear a thump right outside my bedroom door. My heart was racing. There was a long pause, no sounds in the house at all, which made me too scared to even move. Then, whoever the hell was outside my room, softly and slowly knocked on the other side of the door, like they were just tapping on it. I couldn't believe this was happening. It was so surreal that I didn't know how to react. They didn't knock or tap on the door for what felt like a whole minute after that. So eventually I called out, "Who's out there? I've called the cops already." A lie, of course, but I hoped it'd get them to leave. I knew that I had to call the cops at some point, but it felt like right now it wouldn't be helpful, since it'd take at least 10 to 15 minutes for them to get here. So I had to hold off on my own. The only response I got were 3 more knocks at the door, still in that slow, calm way that they did before. Finally, I decided to call the police. I figured if they were just going to stand out there and wait, then this was the best move. I got on the line with an operator, giving my address and everything. They asked what the person was doing now, and as I started saying that they were just standing outside my bedroom door, I heard a loud scratching sound against the wood. It was one long scratch, like they were scraping something against the door. I started kind of freaking out, pleading for them to get here quickly. The door handle started moving back and forth, but thank God I locked it. Another minute or so passed before 3 more knocks tapped against the door, and then it went quiet again. It stayed quiet the whole 10 minutes I waited for the cops to arrive. When they did, there was no one outside my bedroom anymore. The only sign left behind from them was a long gash carved into the backside of the door, clearly from a knife. The officers tried investigating where they could have gotten inside from, but honestly, it was nearly impossible with how many entrances and windows that there were in the house. Also, most of the windows had old and unreliable locking mechanisms. Ultimately, no real leads or anything were found. My parents flew home as soon as they could. While nothing else ended up happening, I never felt safe in that house anymore. Every dark hallway and empty room felt even more eerie, and the woods surrounding the house were just unsettling. Just a week after the incident, I could have sworn I saw someone standing in the woods, not far from the window. But it was dark, so maybe it was just a shadow. Thankfully, I don't live there anymore. And my parents sold the place just a couple months ago. Whatever was going on with that house, or whoever was stalking us in it, will remain unknown. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more amazing video. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. All right, that's it for today. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.